Okay, so as you can see, we've got a few things on the go here. We can just show you. We've got the actual nozzles installed. So what we've done is cut off the little tabs on there, slice them off so they can fit in any position and not locked into those ones, and then we've just glued them in place. Same with the little blast deflector you can see at the back. At the same time we're looking at it, we've put the little oleo struts on and the activator arms. There again, very straightforward to do. We've got the door there, it's a loose fit. We installed the chaff bay down at the back, and we put a few little drops of red in the ones at the top just to sort of liven them up and make them look a little bit better. Now what we can do now is get on with the doors. You might be able to see we've got the front one down here on the moment, and all we're doing as well, going along with the Pro Models black wash, is just giving it a pin wash just to dirty it up just a little bit. So we've got that one on there, so we've just got to install this little guy down here. Now these are just the little activator arms and things for all of these bits, and they all tend to be rather fiddly, to say the least. Okay, so this one is no exception, mainly due to its location. Okay, so we just pop that one in and just hold them there, and that's that one in just at the bottom. So if we bring you right in, you can see where we're to. So that's this one just down in here, that one in, and as I say, we've put a little bit of wash on there, just to dirty it up and sort of make it look a bit mucky. And there we go, we've got the same thing with the main doors as well, so these can actually go on, and these are straightforward little push fit. Now as we've said before, if you're going to do it via the book, these should be in the closed position, which isn't too much of a headache to do, to be honest. It's quite a straightforward thing, but the instructions call out for having them open, and there again it's quite nice to show the detail. So as you can see, there's the door. It's a little bit too clean, so we're just going to grab a little bit of the dark black wash, the actual Pro Modelers black wash, okay, and we're just going to rub it round. And what we can do after it's on there, we can clean it up afterwards with literally just a couple of swipes, but as you can see, it just grinds it up and makes it sort of in keeping with all the others. So we just put a little bit on this back one in here too, because obviously the underside of the Harrier is the dirtiest bit. Okay, so that's that bit on. So what we're going to do now, we're going to get all the other doors on there, and then we can get on with putting the weapons pylons on. Okay, got this on the go now. Basically we've got the pylons installed. Make sure you get your left and rights on the right way with this one, otherwise you're going to end up with all types of trouble. Basically have a look down, look at it nose on. If they're all hanging right down, you're okay. If they're at funny angles, then you've got the wrong way round, so it's pretty straightforward. So that's on. As I say, all the gear doors are on now. They're in the wet, still a little bit wet, because I've literally just brushed a little bit of weathering wash over them just to tone them down a little bit. But basically what we're now ready for is to give this a final flat coat, kill it all off dead flat. Then you can obviously go around with any more weathering you might want to do. We're going to do a little bit with pastels with the weathering sets, which these are the Tamiya weathering sets. But apart from that, they can go on after it's had a flat coat. So for the sake of the flat coat, I've got here some clear, Johnson's Clear, this one with some flat base in it. Now this is the Tamiya flat base X21, very, very sparingly. It's usually about 10%. So what I tend to do, 90% clear gloss through to 10%, and that gives me a bit of a flat base. If you overdo it and you put too much flat onto this, what will happen is you'll end up with like white powder coming out of everywhere, and you really, really don't want that. So what we're going to do, we're just going to pop a bit in here. Because we want this to be a nice dead flat finish now, what we're going to do is basically just pulse it. So we're just going to put a light little blow over it like that. Okay. Let that dry. Cut to air, dry it down, knock it off. Okay, back in, a bit more. Because what we're trying to do is give it a flat finish. Now if you put too much of this down, you end up with a glossy type of wet look, and then it will come back as being sort of satin. We want this to be nice and flat. We want just almost a satin between flat and satin. Definitely this back pit area up here though, we want to be dead flat. So put a bit on, cut into air, dry it down, and then work everywhere right the way over the model. Just do these weapon pylons that we've installed. And just killing it all off, make it all nice and dirty. And there we go. So keep just building up that flatness. Let it dry, cut to air, put a bit more on until you've got it totally how you want it to be. Right, things are moving along at quite a rapid pace. You might be able to see, if we just zoom you in a little bit more. You can see here on the front we've put the lights on. Now there's no mention about the blue one on the top, but there is a spare one on the clear sprue, so I've put that one on, and then the one on the front as well, the very nose seeker. So that's both on. We've done those. As you can see as well, we've unmasked the cockpit. That's all done very nicely as well, so we can just unmask the main part. There again, don't worry about it if you've got any bits under there, you can just get in there with a cocktail stick or something similar. I had a few little bits of dust and that floating around in my front canopy down here, so literally get in there with the airbrush and just blow them all out. And as you see probably on this one, pretty cloudy, a bit messy. So all we do, we just get in here, cotton bud, okay, and clear all of that out. Now, as I say, we have got a little line running down, which is the detonation cord at the top. What we're going to do here, I've got some of the whitewash, so we're just going to take some of that, and we want the thicker stuff. We'll just give this a good old mix up. It has separated a little bit, so this is the light dirt. What we're going to do is just put it on there, and then hopefully it will show through quite nicely. We've installed the seat, as you can probably see at the same time. Everything's roughly there. So what we've basically got, this is to the stage now where you can think about actually arming it, and all those things that you'll be coming along with in a moment. So all we're going to do, this is it, just down here we've got the light wash, and we're just rubbing it so it goes into the groove. Now it might need a couple of coats because it's a very light groove, very, very fine, but this should highlight it very nicely. And so I haven't used this one for quite some time, but there we go. We just let that on there, and then hopefully what will happen is it will show up and show through. So we'll just leave that. As I say, you might need a couple of coats. Wipe it away just as if you do the wash, but don't wet it at all because it's on a nice shiny surface. It will just wipe clean off. Wipe it off, put the next one down, wipe it off, and then hopefully you'll be there and all done. So that's those bits done like that. Now we were saying about adding some more weathering. So what I'm going to do is orientate the actual aircraft around towards myself, because then you have the direction of the airflow. Okay, and then what you actually get, you just, two ways of doing it. You could use pastels and bits and pieces like that. You can use some of the wash, let it dry off, and then use it. And then that way you've got a sort of a fallback. If it doesn't work very well, you're okay. Now Tamiya will give you a little brush and a sponge, which is pretty good for doing just your normal stuff. But for this, you know, really a cotton bud works just as well. But if you imagine putting on makeup, it's roughly the same. You just give it a bit of a rub. Okay, and then come along to your areas you want to go. Okay, and then you can just give them a bit of a wipe as you would. So just drag them down. So just keep it going with the direction of the airflow, just like so. Alright, and then perhaps pick out some other things. And this colour works quite well considering it's on a dark surface such as this type of grey. But there we go, we just pop some down like this and we'll work away a wing. And then what you can do, a cotton bud is probably going to be your best bet. So cotton bud, and all we're going to do is roughly just drag it back, and this will just smear it out a bit. Okay, and it will stop it looking as sharp. Just keep it going in your direction as you would do. So you just follow it, and it's very hard to pick up on camera. Naked eye sees this a lot better. So there again, we just grab a little bit more just for this one over here. Okay, just on this wing area. There again, back in. And what you're doing really is just blending this in now. Okay, so we've got some of these. We're just pulling some of the off of these veins. Okay, and if you don't like it, you can give them a damn good rub and get rid of them, just like that. So that's those. As I say, weapons fit, obviously it's totally up to you at this point. You could then obviously pop along with you know, any type of weapons fit you want to do, put your missile rails on and stuff like that. I've obviously painted up, you might be able to see it up here, is the refueling probe. That's all done. Now I know what you're thinking about, right, this area at the top here. Okay, what it's going to do, we've actually given these a wash as well. They've had a wash. I've got the wiring looms for the slime lines as well. So what will happen is these will come along, okay, and they'll just need to sit in something like, get this right, it should be a nice tight fit, something like there's that one on that side. Okay, and we'll do the same on the other. If this one will stay so much, probably not. Use some of the cabling to our advantage. And there we go, that's those on, which, as you can probably see more on the close-up, is a nice little way. We have got some of that engine showing, and it just does break it down a little bit. But as I said, you can add more wiring to that if you want, and by the time we've got the canopy fitted on, obviously it's covered in the horrible stuff at the moment, that will have to be in the closed position. The canopy will have to be in the closed, because obviously it only slides back up there when the main doors are actually shut. So that'll be it, but because it's a nice clear glass canopy, we can see those really well. Next things I'm going to move on to whilst you're not going to be with me is the actual green and red lights. Obviously red lights will go on the port side, on the other. There's little missile sensors. These are going to be buff colour. They're going to sit on the buff and they're on the tail. So you could use something like XF57 is a good one for that. Just dab those on, and that way they're the little warning receivers and done. Okay, so we're just about finished off now. What we've done, obviously we put the coloured lights on, they're on. We've got the clear ones on the top, little lens light underneath, things like that. The canopy is all cleaned up, polished up and everything. As you can see on the close-up there, we've actually, got the detonation cord showing. As I said, literally a little bit of the light wash on there, let it totally dry and wiped it off with my finger of all things. Just give it a rub around, absolutely done fine. We've got it on, we've put the aerials all on. So obviously we've got the pitot tubes down here, we've got the Fighter Ranger up the front here. Obviously they're very delicate and can be knocked off, so I've done them with a tiny little bit of super glue, pop them on and then paint them afterwards for a great thing. That way if they do get knocked, they'll ping off whole and they can just be glued straight back on rather than snap off, and then you'd have problems getting them back on there and everything else like that. Obviously we went around with the weathering, and as you can probably see on the close-up and on the main one underneath here, and it's looking absolutely great. Got no problems with that at all. It's been a really fun kit to work with. In the Harrier in this scale is an absolute pleasure. It will still fit on your shelf, which is great, and it's got a real presence to it and that real sense of weight that you get with a Harrier when you're near one. The smaller scales don't tend to do that very well. This big scale does it a treat. Obviously I haven't armed it, but I have got the fuel tanks here to go on if we want to put them on. I've got some Sidewinder missiles, and obviously we've got the rails for those, and they can be fitted on. And I'm going to fit this one a bit later on with a Maverick. I've got a Maverick missile, so you can pick what weapons fit you on. Obviously we've got some great weapons with this one, so have a look through the references to make sure you get the right type of one for it. But obviously this is the sort of mid-age of the Harrier where the laser guided bombs and Mavericks are available for this particular one. So just say, have a look through, check your references, and you'll be fine with it. No problems with this build at all. This one has been an absolute fun build from start to finish. I've had no problems. It was great doing the detail work with the engine. I really enjoyed it, and I hope I showed you a few little tricks about livening up little areas and things like that. But it's one of those ones. Just take your time with it, enjoy it, have fun. This kit has got only a couple of little tiny bits of filler on it, which I went through with you, and it just shows it's a real quality good kit. Thoroughly enjoyed it, and if you've enjoyed it, join me again next time.